Irene, please don't marry him. I know I hurt you, but please forgive me. Take me back.
Now you want to talk. After everything you did to
Irene,
me.
please, don't marry him. Please forgive me. Take me
For
back.
3 whole months, Irene begged the man she loved to tell her what she had done wrong. He ignored every call, every message, every tear, so when a billionaire came to ask for her hand, she said yes. But on the very day the marriage was being arranged, the broke boyfriend who had gone silent came back crying, begging her not to marry another man. If you have ever been ignored by someone you would have died for, then you already know this story will hurt, because there is pain. And then there is the kind of pain that comes from loving someone faithfully, while they slowly turn into a stranger in front of you. My name is Irene, and before people started calling me lucky for marrying a billionaire, I was just a chubby caramel-skinned girl with long, neat all-back cornrows, a soft face, too much hope in my heart, and a love story I once believed would end at the altar. But life has a wicked sense of humor. I met Maxwell when I was still very young. Back then, I was 17, stubborn, curious, and always getting sent on little errands by my mother. Maxwell was already older than me by 6 years, tall enough to make almost every doorway look smaller, with a calm, handsome face, and the kind of quiet smile that could make you feel seen without him doing too much. If I stood in front of him, my head barely reached his chest. That was how tall he was, and maybe that was part of why people noticed us even before there was anything to notice. At first, we were only friends. Real friends. He would help me carry things sometimes. If he saw me walking under the sun, he would slow down and ask where I was going. Sometimes we would stand outside for a few minutes, just talking about ordinary things, school, neighbors, silly rumors, dreams that felt too big for the streets we came from. He never touched me wrongly, never crossed any line, never tried to push himself into my life. That was what made him easy to trust. And maybe that was exactly the problem. Because my mother saw danger where there was none. I still remember the first day she slapped me because of Maxwell. She had seen us talking outside our gate. Nothing serious, nothing secret. Just two people laughing over something I can't even remember now. The moment I entered the house, her face had already changed. Why were you standing there with that boy? I was confused. We were just talking. That answer made it worse. From that day, my mother became obsessed with Maxwell's existence. If she heard his name, there was trouble. If she saw me anywhere near him, there was shouting. If somebody mentioned that he had greeted me on the road, she would drag me inside and accuse me of things that had not even happened. At first, I was angry, then embarrassed, then tired, because there is something wicked about being punished for a love that has not even started yet. It plants ideas where there were none before. It creates tension where there was innocence. It makes you start looking at someone differently, just because everybody else has decided there must be something there. That was exactly what happened to us. The more my mother fought the friendship, the more precious it started to feel. The more she beat me for greeting him, the more I found myself thinking about him after he left. The more she warned me to stay away, the more I noticed how gentle he was, how patient, how different from the loud boys around me. And Maxwell noticed the change too. One evening, after my mother had shouted at me so badly that I cried in the backyard, Maxwell found a way to speak to me from the other side of the fence. Irene, he said softly. I wiped my face quickly. Go away. If she sees you, she'll kill me. There was a pause, then he asked, did she hit you because of me again? I didn't answer. That was answer enough. When I finally looked up, his face had changed. He looked hurt, guilty, angry in that quiet kind of way. I'm sorry, he said, and I don't know why. But that was the moment everything shifted. Because nobody had ever apologized to me for my pain like that before. Nobody had ever looked at me as if my tears were not something to dismiss, but something to protect. After that, staying just friends became harder. We still tried, but feelings, once invited by force, do not always leave politely. By the time I turned 18, we had already become the kind of people who could pretend all they wanted. But both of us knew the truth. We had fallen in love in the middle of resistance, fear, and unnecessary punishment. And when Maxwell finally told me, it was the most nervous I had ever seen him. We were standing near a quiet corner not far from the market. I was wearing a simple dress, my long cornrows packed neatly back, and my heart was already beating too hard because I somehow knew this conversation would change everything. He looked down at me, and because he was so tall, that had become one of the things I secretly loved most. Irene, he said, voice
I know your mom doesn't like me, but I can't hide it anymore. And I love you, Irene.
I love you too.
slow. I know your mother already thinks the worst of me. I almost laughed. She does, he smiled faintly, then went serious again. But I don't want to keep pretending I don't feel what I feel. My chest tightened, he took a breath. I love you, it was such a simple sentence. No big speech. No performance. Just truth. I remember staring at him like I had been waiting for those words long before I knew I was. And when I answered, my own voice shook. I love you too. That was how it started, not with luxury. Not with gifts. Not with grand promises. Just two people who had been pushed together by opposition until love finally spoke for itself. The first year was sweet in a way only hidden young love can be. We became experts at secrecy. Experts at timing. Experts at stealing happiness from small spaces. Sometimes I would tell my mother I was going to see a friend, and Maxwell would be waiting 2 streets away. Sometimes we would just walk for a long time, talking about nothing and everything. Sometimes we sat under trees, sharing snacks, laughing over foolish things, dreaming about a future we could not yet afford. He would hold my hand like it was something fragile and valuable. He would kiss my forehead and tell me I was the best thing that had ever happened to him. And I believed him. Honestly, I had no reason not to. We kissed. We hugged. We held each other close. But we never slept together, not once. It was a decision we made together. Let's wait, Maxwell told me one evening, when the moment could have easily gone too far. When I finally touched you that way, I wanted to be as my wife. I thought my heart would melt. So I waited with joy, not pressure. I waited because I loved him. I waited because I believed in what we were building. And for 3 years, I truly thought love would be enough. Yes, Maxwell was broke, very broke. He was not from a rich family. He had no serious money, no stable future yet. No big car, no business empire. No wealthy parents ready to lift him. He was just a handsome, very tall young man with dreams, pride, and the hope that one day things would become better. And I was willing to wait, I mean really wait, even when people mocked me. Even when relatives said I was wasting my youth. Even when my mother said I was foolish for loving a man who had nothing. I still stayed, because love makes poverty look temporary when the heart is full enough. And at that time, mine was full. If Maxwell had asked me then, I would have followed him anywhere. That was why what happened next nearly destroyed me. He changed, no warning. No explanation. No fight. No scandal, he just changed. At first it was small things, a delayed reply. A missed call. A strange excuse, I noticed of course. Because when you love someone deeply, you notice even the slightest shift in their breathing. Then it got worse, he stopped calling the way he used to. Stopped reaching out first. At first, I told myself it was a phase. That maybe Maxwell was just stressed. Maybe something had happened. Maybe he needed a little time to himself. Maybe if I stayed patient, the man I knew would come back. So I waited. I called him the next morning. No answer. I called again that afternoon. Nothing. By evening, I had already sent 3 messages. Are you okay? Did I do something wrong? Please talk to me. He did not reply to any of them. That night, I barely slept. Every little sound made me reach for my phone. Every few minutes, I would unlock the screen just to check if maybe a message had entered quietly, and I had missed it. Nothing. The next day, I tried again. This time he answered. My heart nearly jumped out of my chest. Maxwell, I said quickly, what happened? I've been calling you. There was a pause. Then he said, in the coldest voice I had ever heard from him. I'm busy. I frowned. Busy, okay. But why are you sounding like this? I said I'm busy, Irene, and he cut the call. Just like that, I sat there staring at my phone in disbelief. For a long time, I didn't move. Because it didn't even sound like him, not my Maxwell. Not the man who used to ask if I had eaten. Not the man who used to call me, just to hear my voice before sleeping. Not the same man who once said, even if life gets hard, don't ever think I'll shut you out. But that was exactly what he was doing.
Maxwell, what did I do? Please, I'm sorry, forgive me.
Shutting me out, I called back immediately. He didn't answer, I called again. Nothing, I sent a message. Why are you being like this? No reply, another one. If I offended you, please tell me, still nothing. By the third day, fear had already turned into anxiety. By the fifth day, anxiety had turned into pain. By the end of the first week, I was crying every night. I tried everything, soft messages, apologetic messages, confused messages, even angry ones that I deleted before sending. Sometimes I would type long paragraphs, then erase them all because I didn't want to look desperate. Then a few minutes later, I would become desperate anyway. One evening I sent, please, I'm begging you. If you don't want me again, just say it. Don't keep me like this, no answer. Another day, I can handle the truth. I just can't handle this silence. Nothing, I started losing my peace little by little. My appetite changed. My face changed. Even my body started carrying sadness in ways I couldn't hide. My mother noticed first. What is wrong with you these days? She asked one afternoon. Nothing. I lied, but it was not nothing. It was everything. It was loving somebody and suddenly no longer knowing where you stood in their heart. It was hearing your own phone ring and wishing it was him. It was seeing other couples on the road and feeling your chest tighten. It was rereading old messages and wondering how a person could speak so sweetly one month and become so cold the next. And Maxwell was not gone. That was what hurt most. He was still around. People saw him. People spoke to him. He moved about freely. He was alive. Well and reachable, just not for me. One afternoon, after nearly 2 weeks of being ignored, I borrowed another number and called him. He answered immediately. My hands started shaking. Hello, he said. I closed my eyes. Maxwell, silence. I heard his breathing change. Then he said flatly, why are you calling me with another number? I almost laughed from the pain of it. So you can hear my voice and still ask me that? He said nothing. My eyes filled instantly. Please, I whispered. What is going on? Nothing, Maxwell, what did I do? He exhaled sharply, already sounding irritated. Irene, stop this. That sentence hit me harder than any insult could have. Stop this, not hello. Not I'm sorry. Not let me explain, just stop this. Stop what? I asked, my voice trembling now. Stop asking why the person I love is treating me like I'm a nuisance. I don't want stress, he said. I think that was the first day I truly broke. Because after 3 years of loving him quietly, faithfully, completely, I had now become stress. A burden, a disturbance, something he wanted less of. Tears spilled down my face so fast I couldn't even stop them. Maxwell, I said, crying openly now. You are hurting me, no answer. Please, I begged, please if there is somebody else. Tell me if your family said something. Tell me if I offended you, tell me. But don't just do this to me. Don't punish me without letting me know my crime. He was quiet for so long that I thought the line had cut. Then he said, I don't want to talk, and ended the call. I sat there holding the phone to my ear long after the line had gone dead. That was the day my love started mixing with humiliation. And once love and humiliation enter the same room, nothing beautiful survives for long. Still, I did not stop, God help me. I did not stop, I kept calling, kept texting, kept hoping. The second month was worse than the first. Because by then, I was no longer pretending something small was happening. By then I knew something had gone wrong. Terribly wrong, but because he refused to speak, my mind started inventing possibilities. Maybe he had met someone else. Maybe he was tired of me. Maybe he was ashamed of being broke. Maybe his family had pressured him. Maybe he had stopped loving me and was too cowardly to say it. Maybe he enjoyed watching me beg. Maybe I had become too available. Maybe I had become too much. That is what silence does. It makes you start helping the person who hurt you destroy your own peace. Sometimes I would cry and still call him. Sometimes he would watch the call ring and ring and ring. Sometimes he would switch off his phone entirely. Sometimes he would read my message and still say nothing. There was one night I sent him 12 messages. 12, and every single one became more painful than the one before. Answer me. Please don't do this. I miss you. I'm sorry if I did anything. Let's talk. Even if you want to end it well. I don't deserve this. Maxwell, please. Please. Please answer me. What is my offense? I still love you, he replied to none of them. The next morning, I woke up with swollen eyes and a kind of shame I had never known before. Not because I loved him, because I had begged somebody who was clearly enjoying my confusion. That thought made me cry all over again. By the third month, I was exhausted. Not dramatic exhausted, Not heartbreak movie exhausted. I mean the real kind. The kind where you get tired of hearing your own sad thoughts. The kind where even crying starts to feel repetitive. The kind where you stare at the wall and realize you have been mourning a relationship that nobody officially ended. And still, a part of me kept waiting for him to return to himself. That part of me was the hardest to kill. One evening, after spending almost the whole day checking my phone and finding nothing again, I sat on my bed and typed the last message I would ever send him. My fingers shook while I wrote it. Maxwell, I have called, begged, cried, apologized, and waited. And you still refuse to tell me what I did wrong. I don't know why you changed, and maybe I will never know. But I can't keep humiliating myself like this. I loved you sincerely. I would have stayed with you through anything if only you had spoken to me. Since you have chosen silence, I am choosing to let you go. Goodbye. I read it 5 times before sending it. Then I dropped the phone and covered my face with both hands. I don't even know how long I cried that night. All I know is that when I finally stopped, I felt empty, not healed. Not angry, just empty. And Maxwell, he never replied, not that night. Not the next day. Not the next week. Nothing. That was how I lost my first love. Not with a fight. Not with betrayal I could point at. Not with closure, just silence. And maybe that was why Ethan entered my life so easily after that. Because when a woman has been emotionally starved for too long, certainty begins to look beautiful. Ethan was older than me, richer than any man I had ever imagined around my future. Calm, composed, polished, and unlike Maxwell, he never left me guessing. He was not tall. Standing beside me, we were almost the same height. But he carried himself with the kind of confidence that made height irrelevant. He looked like a man who knew exactly what he wanted and had never had to chase confusion a day in his life. When he first started showing interest, I didn't take it seriously. How could I? My heart was still bruised, still sore, still secretly listening for a message that would never come. But Ethan was persistent in a respectful way, not noisy, not desperate, not immature. He came properly. And when he came with his people to meet my parents, my house changed overnight. My mother smiled in a way I had not seen in a long time. My father spoke more softly than usual. Even the air inside the house felt different, like everybody suddenly believed something bigger than us had entered the room. They liked him immediately. Of course they did. He was a billionaire. Well-spoken, intentional, generous without being loud. And most importantly, he looked like the kind of man who could take a girl out of struggle and place her in comfort. To my parents, that mattered. To me, I was still trying to catch my breath from a heartbreak nobody even knew was still bleeding inside me. To my parents, Ethan looked like answered prayer. To me, he looked like a decision I was not emotionally ready to make. But life does not always wait for your heart to catch up. After that first visit, things moved quickly. Ethan did not play games. He did not come today and disappear tomorrow. He did not leave me staring at my phone. He did not make me wonder what mood he would be in before speaking to me. He was steady, intentional, clear. If he said he would come, he came. If he said he would call, he called. If he asked a question, he waited for an answer. It should have felt ordinary instead. After Maxwell's silence, it felt unfamiliar. That was the strange part, the bare minimum. After enough confusion, starts to feel like luxury. My mother was completely won over almost immediately. Irene, she said that night after Ethan and his people left. This is the kind of man a woman prays for. I lowered my eyes and said nothing, because I knew what she meant. She meant stability. She meant peace. She meant a man who could provide. She meant a future that looked respectable. She meant a marriage nobody would pity. But my heart was still too injured to hear all that and feel excitement. My father was gentler, but he agreed with her. You should think carefully, he told me. Opportunities like this do not knock twice. That word sat with me all night. Opportunity. It sounded so cold beside everything I had once felt for Maxwell. Because what I had with Maxwell had never felt like an opportunity. It had felt like love. Messy, hidden, foolish, hopeful love. What I had in front of me now was something else. A chance. A door. A safer road. And after months of begging somebody to explain why he was hurting me, safer began to sound less boring than it once had. Ethan started coming around more often after that. Not too much. Not in a suffocating way. Just enough to show he was serious. He would greet my parents properly, sit with calm confidence, ask after the family, and somehow managed to be generous without looking like he was showing off. Bags of food would arrive. My mother's medicines would suddenly be easier to buy. Small problems in the house started feeling lighter. My parents noticed everything. So did I, and I hated that part of me was relieved. Because relief can feel dangerously close to betrayal when your heart still belongs to someone else. One evening, Ethan asked if he could speak to me outside for a few minutes. I said yes because saying no would have raised too many questions. We stood in the compound, the evening light soft around us, and he looked at me with that same quiet composure he always carried. "You've been very polite with me," he said, "but I can tell you're not fully here." I looked at him, surprised. He gave a small smile. "I'm not blind, Irene." A moment. I didn't know what to say, then I asked quietly, "Why are you interested in me?" His answer came without delay. "Because you are calm where many people are noisy. Because you carry yourself with dignity. Because I think you are the kind of woman a man can build a home with." It was such a mature answer, no foolish lines. No empty charm, no childish sweetness, and maybe if I had met him in a different season of my life, I would have felt flattered in a lighter way. But at that moment, I only felt tired. He saw it. I think he saw all of it, the bruised heart, the hesitation, the confusion I was trying to keep hidden. So his voice softened. "I am not asking you to force feelings," he said. "I'm asking you to consider a future." A future, that word again. Maxwell had always spoken to me about someday. Ethan spoke as if someday could begin now.
Irene, marry me, and I will make you the happiest woman in the whole world.
Yes.
That difference followed me everywhere. At night, I still checked my phone sometimes. Though I hated myself for it. Nothing from Maxwell, nothing. His silence remained complete. Cruel, uninterrupted, and slowly. Quietly, the emptiness he created started being filled by conversations about Ethan. My mother began bringing up marriage in indirect ways. My father started sounding hopeful. Even relatives, who knew almost nothing, suddenly had opinions. An older man can settle a woman properly. At least this one knows what he wants. You don't have to suffer with a poor man before becoming happy. That last one always stung, because even then I still loved Maxwell. Or at least the version of him that had existed before the silence swallowed him. But love becomes very hard to defend when it no longer defends you back. Eventually, Ethan returned with more seriousness. This time, the conversation between families was no longer light. Intentions were being spoken clearly. Expectations were being discussed. The kind of discussions that change a girl's life without asking whether her heart is ready. My mother was glowing. I had never seen her so pleased over any man connected to my future. And maybe that should have made me angry, considering how hard she had once made my life over Maxwell. But instead, it just made me sad. Because suddenly, I understood something ugly. My love had only been unacceptable when it looked poor. Now that wealth had entered the story, everything became respectable. That night, my mother sat beside me and held my hand. "Irene," she said softly, "I know you are young. But this man can take care of you. He can give you a good life. You won't have to suffer." That difference followed me everywhere. At night, I still checked my phone sometimes. Though I hated myself for it. Nothing from Maxwell, nothing. His silence remained complete. Cruel, uninterrupted, and slowly. Quietly, the emptiness he created started being filled by conversations about Ethan. My mother began bringing up marriage in indirect ways. My father started sounding hopeful. Even relatives, who knew almost nothing, suddenly had opinions. An older man can settle a woman properly. At least this one knows what he wants. You don't have to suffer with a poor man before becoming happy. That last one always stung, because even then I still loved Maxwell. Or at least the version of him that had existed before the silence swallowed him. But love becomes very hard to defend when it no longer defends you back. I looked at her and saw something I had not fully allowed myself to see before. Fear, not greed. Not wickedness, fear. The fear poor parents carry when they imagine their daughter repeating their hardship. The fear of hunger. The fear of dependence. The fear of struggle stretching into another generation. And because of that, I couldn't even fully blame her for sounding relieved. Still, none of it made the choice easy. For days, I walked around with a storm inside me. Part of me wanted to hold on to old love a little longer, even if it was already hurting me. Part of me wanted to stop bleeding and step into something stable, even if my heart was not yet fully there. In the end, exhaustion made the choice before passion could. I agreed, not with butterflies, not with joy, not with the glowing happiness girls are supposed to feel when a wealthy man chooses them. I agreed because I was tired, tired of confusion, tired of hoping, tired of carrying unanswered questions, tired of being emotionally abandoned, and still acting loyal to the person abandoning me. So I said yes the moment I did. The atmosphere in the house changed completely. My mother almost cried from relief. My father nodded like a burden had lifted from his chest. The calls started. The planning deepened. The kind of quiet family excitement that spreads through a home when everybody believes the future has finally become safer. And me, I smiled when I had to, answered when I had to, sat through discussions when I had to, but deep inside, I was still mourning something no one else could see. Then the news spread. I don't even know how it got to Maxwell so quickly. Maybe someone told him casually. Maybe he heard from a friend. Maybe one of those people who enjoy carrying other people's business placed it in his ears like fresh gossip. All I know is that the same man who had ignored my tears for 3 whole months suddenly found his way back the moment another man stepped in.
Irene, please forgive me.
I saw him on a hot afternoon. I had stepped outside to get something from the front when I noticed someone standing not too far from the gate. At first, I thought I was imagining him, because Heartbreak has a way of making ghosts out of memory. But no, it was Maxwell, still painfully tall, still handsome in that quiet way that had once undone me. But now thinner, rougher, like life had dragged him somewhere hard and left the evidence on his face. For a moment, I forgot how to breathe. He took one step toward me, then another. And by the time he reached me, his eyes were already red. Irene. He said, voice shaking, please.
Irene, I beg you in the name of God, don't leave me. Don't marry him, please.
Oh, now you want to talk.
That one word nearly destroyed me, because for months I had wanted his voice. And now here it was, too late and trembling. I said nothing. I couldn't. He looked at me like a man standing at the edge of losing everything. I heard, he stopped and swallowed hard. I heard you agreed to marry someone else. Still, I said nothing. My silence seemed to make him even more desperate. Irene, please don't do this.
Irene, please. Don't marry him. Please forgive me. Take me back.
I laughed, but it came out broken and small. Don't do what? Don't marry him. There it was, simple, direct, cruel in its timing. I folded my arms tightly because my body suddenly felt too weak to trust. And now you want to talk? His face crumpled in a way I had never seen before.
Irene, please don't marry him. I know I hurt you, but please forgive me. Take me back.
Now you want to talk. After everything you did to me.
I know I was wrong. I stared at him. Wrong, such a small word for what he had done. You know, I asked quietly. Now. Irene, please listen to me. No. I snapped, and my own voice surprised me. No, you listened to me. For 3 months I begged you. I cried, I called, I asked you what I did. I sent messages like a fool. I gave you chance after chance to just speak to me like a human being. And you said nothing. He lowered his head. I kept going because once pain starts speaking, it rarely stops politely. You left me hanging like I was nobody. Like everything we had meant nothing. And now that a billionaire wants to marry me, suddenly you remember my name. It wasn't like that, he said quickly. Then what was it like? He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again, nothing came out. And somehow that hurt even more. Because after all these months, after all that silence, he still did not have a clean explanation ready for me. His eyes filled, Irene, I love you. That sentence, that stupid, beautiful, painful sentence, it landed exactly where it always used to. And I hated that, because some parts of the heart are slow to learn. I never stopped loving you, he said. Not for one day. I shook my head and looked away because my eyes had started burning. Then you had a terrible way of showing it. He stepped closer. I know I hurt you. I know I don't deserve anything from you. But please don't marry him. Please don't do this because of pain. Don't do it because I was stupid. Punish me if you want, hate me if you want. But don't marry another man while I'm standing here still loving you. My throat tightened so badly I could barely swallow. Because that was exactly the kind of thing I had once wanted him to say. Not now. Not after the damage. Not when my family had already begun to hope. But once, yes, I had wanted this kind of desperation from him when I was still drowning in his silence. And now here it was, late, he reached for my hand. And the moment his fingers touched mine, memories came rushing back so violently, I nearly pulled away from myself. 3 years. 3 years of secret walks, hidden smiles, forehead kisses, promises, dreams. 3 years of loving one man. And now he was standing in front of me begging me not to belong to somebody else. Irene, he whispered, please forgive me. Take me back, and just like that, every piece of peace I had been trying to force into place shattered all over again. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who loves emotional romance stories. Because trust me, this is not where Irene's story ends. In part 2, you'll find out whether she forgave Maxwell and went back to the man she still loved, or went ahead and married Ethan, the billionaire who seemed like the safer choice. And if she did marry Ethan, was it truly the happy ending everyone expected, or the beginning of a life she would one day regret? So stay close, because part 2 is where everything changes.